Hello, I'm at the London Transport Museum, but out here at the Acton Depot in West London today to meet the man who knows everything about moquettes. Moquettes are those patterns that you sit on a train or a bus in London, and we're here today to find out everything you ever wanted to know about how they get designed.
Paul Marchant, hello, good afternoon. Tell me what your job title is, first of all, which I'm very excited by.
Product and Industrial Design Manager for TfL.
Now, we're here today to talk moquette and moquette design. I'm slightly excited because out the corner of my eye, I can see you brought a friend and he's holding a little package of moquettes. We'll get to those in a second.
Yes.
Do your team exclusively just design moquettes, or do you design other things as well?
A lot of my time at the moment is designing moquette, but I'm an industrial designer, so I put my hand to industrial design, which is really a process of developing products from a serial perspective. So in other words, I have a craft background, but I'm an industrial designer, so I work with engineers to develop trains and buses and shelters and poster frames and various other things. But at the moment, there's a lot of moquette going on.
So like at dinner parties and stuff, and you can turn up and people go, "What's your job?" You go, "Oh, I design the moquette for London Underground." Is that what's on your business card?
That gets me extra dessert.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
No, it does.
I want that job.
I know it does.
When I was at school and they said, "Young Jeffrey, what do you want to be when you grow up?" Why didn't they tell me that was a job available? That would have been great.
I mean, I wasn't aware of it until my work took me in this kind of direction, because as industrial design, you turn your hand to most things. But moquette, there's Piccadilly line upgrade, there's Docklands Light Railway, there's buses refurb, there's various other projects I've been involved in, and they all require moquette, and we do that internally now.
You've mentioned the things that I have questions about.
Yes.
Because about 12 months ago, I went on a trip up to the factory in Goole. You look at the new Piccadilly line train. There were two designs of moquette, and I was told by someone, no, they're not using this one, but they are using this one. I believe we have it to the side. If we could get our glamorous assistant to hand in, we can instantly talk about the new
design,
the new Piccadilly line moquette. So this is gorgeous. Basically, what I want to know is, if you sort of hold it up to your chest,
yep,
and then the camera here will see it. Have you incorporated classic designs of the Piccadilly line into this moquette, and could you tell us what they are?
I think that is the idea. After we developed Barman, and I think Barman's been incredibly successful, we thought it would be a wonderful idea to, because we're talking brand new rolling stock for the Piccadilly line, being made by Siemens in Austria and also in Goole. It's a brand new train, air conditioned, all the latest technology. Wouldn't it be nice to celebrate the line at the same time? So really we then set ourselves the task of really developing a brand new design which would celebrate the Piccadilly line.
Now, this is Southgate Tube Station, right? Please tell me that's Southgate.
Yes, that's Southgate, and so is that Southgate as well. So
that's the pylon.
So that's the finial or the pylon at the top, and then there's Boston. Is it Boston Manor? I think is there, and then these are the various windows of Northfields or Arnos Grove and so on. So it really does reflect some of the architectural details of the sort of modernist architectural details of the stations.
And was it your specific job or one of your team to come up with that design? Do you literally sit there in Adobe Illustrator going, "All right, lads, we'll draw it like this"?
We sketch, we look, we photograph, we have meetings. So generally where you have one or two designers, maybe they're contractors, maybe they're full-timers, and I will kind of set the brief, and I'll send the designer around for half a day or the week and say, look, why do you explore this? Look at the architecture, look at the unique themes of what the Piccadilly line is, and examine what could potentially be used to reference and develop a design.
So again, that must mean you've got like early revisions or early prototypes of moquettes that never saw light of day.
And then you sample, and then the sampling is really the acid test, I suppose, to see whether it's going to work. But now that we've done several moquettes, you generally know the format and the sort of design structure and the brief you're going to set yourself.
We're sat here today in the London Transport Museum Acton Depot. Maybe one day you could turn your shed or your garage at home into the Paul Marchant Moquettes That Never Were Museum.
Well, it has been meant, because I want to build a shed in the garden about having a carriage or something.
Yeah, do that.
It has been meant.
I would pay an entrance fee to come and see moquettes that never were. But the new tube for London, it's coming to the Piccadilly first. There's the rumour is that it might then go to the Central, for example. So would the Central line then get it so designed? Presumably the Central line wouldn't use the Piccadilly moquette, would it? Would you have to build one for the Central line?
I think the idea of the Deep Tube programme, obviously the Piccadilly line first, is that we create an archetype train that can then be rolled out on various lines that need replacing stock. And I think the next line is the Bakerloo.
But that's already had its sort of midlife Barman Brown refresher. It might get.
But if you were to develop a new train, trains take 5 to 7 years to sort of develop. So and then testing and so on. So even now with the architecture we have of the Piccadilly, we're always bearing in mind what we would do if it was to become a Bakerloo. So we'd maybe look at grab pole colours, floor colours, and really that's my work as industrial designers, to work with the engineers. It's about compliance, it's about maintenance and cleaning, it's about, you know, the idea of the moquette is that it has to be mid-tone, so it's compliant with the grab poles and stuff like that. So there's a lot of technical requirements within that. So even at these early stages, when we looked at the Piccadilly, we were always thinking about, oh, what would the Bakerloo line version of the train look like? What would the Central line version of the train look like? Because they have a very unique identity, let alone obviously different destinations and different line. And it's really good to celebrate that.
Now we're sat in the Acton Depot. I love this place. I love coming here on an old C-stock train, which is relevant to what I'm about to ask you, because the C-stocks were replaced by F-stock about 10 years ago. So there's that. Some people might call it fairly bland. It's like a dark, almost black colour, but then there's just like there's a bit of yellow, a bit of pink, a bit of green, and a bit of purple. Is that right for the 4 lines that run?
I think that's how. Yeah.
But the rumour I've heard, please either enhance or push down the speculation, is that the F-stock might be getting a new design. Is that true?
There is a conversation about it, but I think the because you can naturally see that a lot of the priority seats, which are by the vestibule areas and the doors, are wearing, because they're very, very popular seats. And so it normally takes between 8 and 10 years for a moquette to show some wear.
10 years?
It can wear up to 10 years.
Oh, like on the Victoria line, where the armrests are becoming a bit...
but they're a high contact point. So, so they get greasy and hands, whereas most of us sit on seats with trousers on or clothing and stuff. So, but mostly the seats itself, the seat base gets most of the wear, so that often gets replaced between 7 and 8 years. Okay. And sometimes they do them both together, but sometimes they don't. Sometimes the backs will last 12, 14 years.
Hang on, I'm not sure if I got a yes or no out of that. So, is there a new S-stock moquette coming or not?
Oh, there will be ultimately, but but when and how and what it looks like. But we have in our sketchbooks and on screens played around with the idea of that. Okay. But the important thing about a moquette on any line is when you're doing refurbishment, that moquette, from a requirements point of view, colour point of view, has to fit in with all the other surfaces within that train. So you almost like box into a corner regarding the tone and what we call the LRV, the light reflective value score of that fabric.
LRV score?
Yes.
This is what a great technical term. Okay.
Yes, light reflective value.
And I know in the past you've worked with other designers, Wallace and Saul,
yes.
the great team of ladies. They did the overground and the trams. What else did they do? Are you still working with them or other people, or is it all very much in-house?
We all do. We do everything in-house now. I think it just gives us greater control. Okay. But yeah, I've worked with Emma and Harriet for several years. So again, the Barman moquette was probably one of the most famous.
Did they design Barman? I love Barman.
And then they recoloured it for the Bakerloo, which is beautiful. It's my favourite, I think.
Oh, hang on, that's one of my questions. I can find. What's Paul Marchant's favourite moquette? It's on my list. They're telling me now.
That is. Yeah, when I look at it. But again, the original Barman is quite blue, and so it's not really. It's a design that suits the train that it inhabits, whereas the Bakerloo line actually looks quite nice in a domestic setting as well. You know what I mean? It has that kind of colour scheme.
Then is it called Barman Brown? There's Barman Original and that's Barman Brown, or is that just a?
Well, we also recoloured the Barman ourselves internally for the existing Piccadilly line as well. So there's a slightly different colour scheme for the Barman that goes on the Piccadilly line. Go and have a look on the way home.
On the way home, I'll have a look. Wow, okay.
With a priority moquette as well.
Am I right in thinking that the overground? It took me, and I'm a fully paid up member of the Tube Nerd Club. So one day I was like, hang on a second, I think the overground has different moquettes. So those that are on the East London line are different to the 710s going out of Liverpool Street. Are there 2 overground moquettes?
They are at the moment.
Okay.
So there's original 378s that probably about 14 years ago. That's probably about my first moquette project.
Sure.
Emma and Harriet from Wallace Sewell worked on
that. Was theirs.
That was theirs. I think it was their first.
But the 710s, is that a different?
Slightly different. I think it's the same design but slightly different colourway.
Okay.
So again, you've got requirements regarding contrast on surfaces. So the requirements have changed slightly, or they're more robust. So you notice the grab poles are slightly deeper orange, and so the moquette has gone slightly deeper colour as well. But it also aids maintenance and cleaning.
Do you ever get any feedback from the public? Do people ever say, oh, we love this one or we hate that one? And do you sort of take it on board? Do you listen to what passengers are saying? Or do you no, you just get what you're given?
There are conversations, and I generally know which from people I meet, which are their favourites, if you know what I mean. But generally, we're looking at the Victoria line for the moment. We had a kind of conversation with some of the maintenance crews, and they want to go a darker colours they're technically able to from a maintenance point of view. So
Why does a darker colour help? Sorry.
because of brake dust and dirt and grime and maintenance. If you start off with a white, I mean, people in the 1950s and 30s wear dark brown suits and brown shoes and so on, don't they? So because that was better to manage dirt with.
Right.
It's only more recently that people, you know what I mean? So generally we had real problems on some of our rolling stock about dirty floors. So one of my designers went out with a colour reader and measured all the dirty floors and came up with this aggregate colour to make sure that we could maintain a colour on the floor.
Like a tool that kind of scans.
Oh, I've got to get back. Yeah, it's a colour reader.
And again, that was someone's job. Go out and gauge the colours of all the floors of all the tube trains.
If you look at historical trains, they're all made out of wood and leather and so on. So they're generally browns and blacks and reds.
Yes.
And those colours hide the dirt. They visually manage the dirt better.
Right.
And enable our cleaning teams to basically start off from a good position, should we say. And the trouble is with some of our lines is that brake dust is a big issue because it's everywhere. And no matter how much you clean, it's going to get.
I've already put my hand over it today, and I've got in a typical Jeff fashion, as my viewers will know, I got grime on my fingers. I was desperately scrubbing it off before we started the interview. And my next question was going to be, what's your favourite Moquette? But you've already said the Barman Brown.
I think it is.
I just want to know, today I wore my Liz Line socks. Did you get the memo, Paul, about wearing the socks? Or did you?
I did, but I generally don't wear them very often.
Do you have Moquette clothes? Do you have a scarf?
No, someone bought me Elizabeth Line Moquette socks, just like
what, as a present?
Christmas.
Surely get it for free.
No, okay.
I want to know what else is coming up next. My ultimate question is, what's next after the Piccadilly line? I'm excited to say that your assistant, I can see hovering, has brought a part of Moquette. So it's at this moment that the other Moquettes come in. I've seen one of them already. I've worked out that one of them is the new DLR Moquette,
Yes.
which I had the privilege of seeing on the new DLR train a while ago.
Yes.
And even I managed to work out, are these two the same?
Yeah, well, one is the standard and one is the priority, you see. So generally, as I said to you before, we have different colourways.
But the triangles are meant to represent sails. Is that correct? For the dots within just feel
over here.
You can.
So these are. I thought I'd bring you some sketches to show why. So really, we wanted to celebrate what is unique about the DLR. The DLR is such a unique part of London, East London. So really, it's about trade, it's about commerce, is Docklands. That's really and immigration and a unique population and so on. So we wanted to celebrate that, and then things like Thames barges having particular colours and so on. So these are some of our early ideas. But then it's also looking at some of those amazing buildings in East London as well, finance, insurance and stuff like that. So really that's where some of these shapes and forms have started to come from. And also the triangular nature of it as well makes it kind of quite unique look and feel to that particular area.
Yeah.
So we're kind of really underpinning the strong kind of character and look and feel of that particular design.
And these are the two here. This is the regular one, and these are
very early sketches.
Oh, these are early.
These are very early
so they don't
sketches.
quite match up.
No, this is the last.
Oh, we're getting an exclusive look here on what it might have
We
been.
normally don't share.
Okay.
That falls. It's like on the cutting room floor, isn't it? It falls
And it's gone. Yeah.
It's gone.
Yeah.
You can't.
Like half my video gone. Yeah.
Exactly. So you edit that. So this is that in early stage.
Gosh.
And it shows you the sort of thinking and the workings of how we kind of ended up there. But as I said to you as well, we got to choose 4 colours because we got 4 colours to choose from. That priority seat, that's again an early prototype. So we replaced the contrast. We replaced the text on that one with a lighter colour because you get better contrast. Okay. So this is an evolving process, and it takes between 4 and 6 weeks to sample. So the sampling and designing is maybe 8 to 10 to 12 months in total to get it absolutely right.
Looking down here, I'm so excited because I've genuinely got no idea. I'm looking for clues. I can see this says VCS priority. What are these? Are these new?
These are really exciting, yeah. About 6 months ago, we developed this for Victoria Coach Station, celebrating its 90th anniversary.
Hang on, so this is a brand new Moquette for Victoria Coach Station. Where will this is final?
This is fine.
Where will this
is signed off. This will appear on coaches and some seating. So it may be. This is the Moquette.
So I did work out VCS Victoria Coach Station.
Yes, well done.
Well done. Really fast.
Yeah. And what we did. So the idea is that they'll maybe use this for obviously for upholstery, but they also maybe produce vinyls for for wall coverings, floor coverings. They'll probably they'll maybe put the vinyls on seating and so on. So it's a kind of motif that they can use, and also on printed material and stuff like that. So the idea is to kind of create a design that can be used right the way across some of their publicity and promotional stuff.
Is this a letter V, not triangle? Is that the idea?
Well, again, I brought this with me because I thought it might be quite nice. This kind of shows you where we're coming from. So the architect who designed and had built Victoria Coach Station was Wallace Gilbert. And so this kind of shows you where some of the designs kind of come from. So we're kind of taking our reference from some of the original glasswork on the windows and the sort of
So you've gone back, looked at old photos, taken those design features, sketched them, come up with a new pattern.
It's always really good to reference and to go back and to give meaning to what you're doing. Otherwise, it's just a random sort of design that's placed in. What we try to do is we try to reference.
Does it ever frustrate you? Do you think millions of Londoners must go about their day and they get on the tube, they tap in, they head down, they look at their phone, they tap out, and they don't realise the amount of effort that's gone into the seat they're sitting on?
I think that's the nature of design, though, isn't it? It's almost, if it's done really, really well, it doesn't become invisible, but it becomes one of those things that blends into the sort of fabric of London itself. But people will get things here and there, and they'll see something, they'll read something, they'll notice something. And people are very, very, not possessive, but people kind of own their line and own the sort of design. And then if it changes, they're kind of, well, why is it changing? And so on. So it is a delight, and I hope people do notice it, but not everybody notices it all the time. But in a way, that's what it's there to do. It's designed to be busy, but not too busy. It's designed to be busy to reduce the opportunity for graffiti. It's designed to be busy to hide wear, and to wear well, I should say. So, but not too busy as to be jarring or distracting.
We're going to play a quick game in a minute, but I can just see that you've got just a couple more. Just tell me quickly what this... I'm guessing this is something new for a bus.
For buses and moquettes.
See, isn't that weird that I instinctically knew that was more bus than train?
I think so. And what we did is we referenced... There's two things. One, we took the design of the Scott's design for the Routemaster, the Moquette, and we recoloured it with some of the colours already used in the interior of the new bus for London. And then we need demarcation between, so it is actually the same design, yes, as you can see, but it's just the colourway is slightly different.
I often think it's just like an inverse, but it's not, is it? If it's a true inverse, it wouldn't look like that.
No, it's not a negative or whatever, but the idea is to kind of, they mutually complement one another. They belong in the same place, but they represent different things to our customers. It's a big deal for buses.
Paul, before we go, we're going to have a quick quiz. Do you love your job?
Yes.
How much?
Do you want it?
A little bit, yeah. Well, I'm not that good an illustrator. Do you go to bed at night dreaming of Moquette patterns in your...
I certainly look out for things. I look out for things, certainly. And some of the historical moquettes that we have, even from the 50s and 60s, are fabulous.
Well, now you say that, because we're sat in the LTM Acton Depot.
Yes.
And over there I spoke to my friend Keith on the way in. So if I just put the new ones down, I've literally... It's like I've gone to Lidl or Asda. I've got a shopping basket full of old Moquette. Yes, on my channel recently, I did a rather fun video with fellow YouTuber Max Frosch. We played a game called Max the Moquette, where he had to tell me what the Moquette was. So this is you didn't know this was coming, did you? I'm gonna test you. I pulled out some old random Moquettes, which you can buy, by the way, here from the museum. I just want to see if you know what...
Start of a 10.
If you exactly, but bonus round. What do you know what that one is?
So that is the original Routemaster Moquette, which I think was Scott developed the Routemaster, and that is the original Moquette that went into it, and that's what we reference for this. Here.
That's then reference for that one.
Yes.
Okay, so you can see the similarity. Hang on, staying with the buses themes, even I knew what this one is. That is the
new Routemaster, or the Boris bus, as people call it, or used to call it.
Okay. Again, one of my favourites. You must know this, surely.
That is it. That is the Victoria line from 68.
Who designed this? Do you know?
Not sure, actually.
Okay.
But again, the Victoria line is the red, white and blue. It seems to be very much the thing of the Victoria line. Its existing design is a paler blue, but it's that strong, it's a banging design.
I mean, do you know your history? Like, who used to design the kits? Like, for example, this one from the 1970s.
That's Marion Stroud.
Is this one of your favourites?
That is class.
Isn't it a thing of city, right? Yeah.
It's deep toned, but it's got vitality, so it will wear well. The maintenance crews will probably love that, because again, it's the white it's the white on Moquette. And try to avoid.
And this was on what, old Northern Line trains and Piccadilly Line trains? Yeah,
so,
Piccadilly. Yeah. Okay. Now this one is rather intriguing. I was hoping this might catch you out, but I'm sure you'll know what that is.
So that is the concept Piccadilly Line train design, but this has been replaced.
Yeah, so this is the one I saw that day in Goole.
Yes.
And people were like, no, Jeff, it's not that one, it's the other one. Exactly. So this was an initial one.
This was initial design, but what we mentioned is there's no big idea. It's kind of quite bland.
Okay.
And we quite like our Moquette to represent a line.
Okay. So this will never hit the line today. This will only ever be an offcut here in the museum.
And in my store cupboard.
And you
a store cupboard of
your store cupboard at work or your store cupboard at home?
No.
How much Moquette do you have at home?
I have a few cushions.
A few? Balls or... Hang on, do you have any self-made cushions?
I think, no, I have made a few.
Have you got the sewing machine out and made your own cushions?
I have indeed, but I think I've made enough.
Have you really? Are you just saying that just to please me?
No.
Do you genuinely have a sewing machine?
I do. I love it.
I love it. Oh, that's so great.
Product designer.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Right, 2 more and we'll wrap up. I didn't know what this one was, so I'm hoping you can tell me.
Is that the Green Line or something?
Okay, I maybe call you out. Okay.
I think it's a bus Moquette, but it's the suburban Green Line version of Scott's bus Moquette. So I'm sure the bus people will know. I think it's
okay.
a different version of that.
The way YouTube works, there'll definitely be someone in the comments right now furiously typing, telling us what that is. That's great. So we'll find out. And then finally, I almost got caught out with this one, but this is
the cable car.
Well, not at the moment, when it was the previous sponsor.
Yeah, Emirates.
This is how it originally was.
So it's a recoloured Misha Black design, which people probably browns and red, browns and slightly yellow, rusty yellows and so on. Okay. And so this was a quick response, but this was a response to Emirates airline sponsoring the cable car. So we ended up recolouring an established Moquette.
And there's a really nerdy fact, is that if you're at the Transport Museum in Covent Garden, they have a theatre there called the Cubic Theatre.
They do, yes.
And they have seats inside, like a 110-seater theatre. They have a design on those seats that's specific to the Cubic Theatre that's very similar to that, right? Not the same.
Yes.
Were you aware of that?
I presented a few times at the museum. And now you just reminded me.
But so were you ever on stage in the Cubic thinking, hang on, that Moquette is like, I'm like, oh, hang on, that's where did that come from?
Yeah. And again, it was probably a large order, so they're able to have a bespoke order because you need to order a certain amount of Moquette for it to become economic because you need to set up looms.
Okay, Paul, if it's all right with you, I'm going to call this video "Meet the Man Who Designs London Tube Moquettes." Is that a fair video title?
Thank you.
You've had an absolute pleasure.
Okay.
You love Moquette, don't you?
I do.
So much. Thank you so much for your time. See you again. All right. Thank you.
There you go, that's the lovely Paul Marchant. Thank you so much. Still at the museum. We've just been hanging out here for an hour afterwards looking at all the old buses and trains. If you've enjoyed this video, please press like, please press subscribe, and see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.